Welcome to the Yankee and Canuck podcast, Best Picture Series, where we talk about all the Academy Award Best Pictures, past to present.
And I'm your host, a Yankee.
And I'm your host, a Canuck.
And today we're going to be talking about Mrs. Mini Driver. This is a film about a woman with a golf club, goes on a rampage, kills people left and right, hitting people with their clubs. It was a pretty awesome film, actually. I was not expecting this one to win Best Picture.
Yes, that's the movie we watched. That sounds exactly like it.
Yeah, I know. Mrs. Mini Driver. That's what it's called, right? Or is it Mrs. Miniver? Miniver?
Mrs. Miniver.
Oh, never mind. Mrs. Miniver.
You watched the wrong movie.
Damn. Lame. All right, anyway. Today we're going to be talking about Mrs. Miniver. This is the 15th film to win Best Picture. Before we get into the film, a couple of notable things that happened here. The main actress who played Mrs. Miniver, Greer Garson, she won Best Actress, and her speech went on for like 5 minutes and 3 seconds, which was only surpassed by Adrian Brody as of this recording just this past year.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, I know. So that's kind of interesting. And it's also the second film after My Man Godfrey in 1936 to receive nominations in all 4 acting categories. So it won awards for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Cinematography.
Best everything.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Best everything. This film was so awesome and great.
You loved this film, didn't you? I mean, Yankee, you were mentioning the other day something along the lines of a Mrs. Miniver marathon every year, kind of like how I do RoboCop every year. You're going to start watching this every year, right?
I said that to you in confidence, sir. How dare you expose me in front of all of our viewers here?
My bad, my bad.
I'm gonna go in the corner and cry now. I feel so betrayed.
Okay.
No, but like, other than notable things that happened in the Academy Awards, what can be said about this film? Well, what is this film about? Well, it's about the title's sake. Mrs. Miniver, she's like an English woman. You know, basically, this is pre-war time, right before, the Germans invaded England. So everything is like hunky-dory and fine. There's like a rose competition and all that stuff. Her son or something is just like he came back from Oxford and everyone's like partying and having a good time. Then the war effort happens and then, England gets bombed to shit and the end.
The end.
I think that's pretty much the film, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's the production for this film took place during the war, but before the U.S. had entered the war. And what Pearl Harbor was in December 41.
Yeah.
U.S. declared war on Japan immediately afterwards, and Germany and Italy declared war on the U.S. Oh, interestingly enough, the U.S. sent troops soon after, I think, to Ireland. But there wasn't actually U.S. full-scale combat role was later in the year of 42, which was actually Operation Torch, which was in North Africa. And that was actually in Casablanca, Morocco, which is the next movie we're going to be covering.
Yep, exactly.
And also in Algeria and Algiers, the operation was also there. But just a fun fact, wanted to throw that out there. But
yeah, if anything, this is really like a war film for the most part. This is really
War II propaganda film. I mean,
it is a propaganda film. It's a propaganda war film. So it's about in the perspective of the civilians. So it's supposed to drum up sympathy for people that are watching it. Even at the very end of the film, it's like buy war bonds, support your country, kind of a thing at the end. A lot of this stuff was happening during that time.
Yeah, Churchill actually was quoted. He said it's propaganda worth 100 battleships. The film, and
it's true.
It definitely gave the U.S. audience somewhat of an idea of what the war effort at home and some of the sacrifices and effort made by civilians and the families in Britain. I don't know how accurate some of it was. I don't know, man, because I suspect not as much as you think, because we've seen in other movies and other documentaries. I mean, the film it's like all upper middle class and upper class people in their big homes and nice yards and fences. And I don't know, maybe for the effect, they kind of they made things a little bit too perfect before the bombing, at least. And so I think they deviate from some of the realities of life there, at least for most of the masses. I don't know. It felt odd to me,
Even after the bombing, everything looks still kind of picture perfect. It's kind of funny.
It's strange, even their behavior, with how difficult and awful the situation would be. The film kind of presents it as, oh, it's not so bad. Everyone's still okay. It's like, oh, we got to ration a bit. Oh, okay, that's okay. Oh, half of our house is missing for bombing. And we got no roof and walls. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, the neighborhood pets and rodents are freely walking into our homes. That's okay. Okay, that's not actually in the movie, but I bet that's what would happen if your home is exposed like that.
I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves because we're just talking about the good stuff, which is pretty much the second half of the film. The first half of the film is boring. It sucks. It's terrible.
Yeah, first 40 minutes for sure is
Yeah, well, that's the
it
thing
can be
too.
challenging to get through.
Well, that's the thing too, because like when the movie started and I started watching, I'm like, yeah, this is the big piece of shit I thought it was going to be, because like always, I read the source material.
Right, right.
It's a short book. The only good things I could say about the book is that it's mercifully short and it's easy to read. The chapters are really
Very cool.
short. And here's the interesting thing about the book, too, is because I read the book first before watching the film. The book is painted as a series of vignettes. It's a day in the life book. It's like you're reading someone's diary or reading a bunch of letters you found. Yeah, because in one of the chapters I read, it was about the park. It's about her going to the park and having a good time, right? But it's written in a way where it's just like, and then we went to the park, and the trees were brushing gently in the wind, and then so and so brought his boat. They had a glorious boat race. The boat went all the way to the end, and blah blah blah. And it was just like describing in such excruciating detail about what happened that day. But when you get to the end of that chapter, you realize nothing really happened. It's summarized as such: I went to the park. I had a good time. That's it. And every chapter was like that. I went to such and such. I had an argument with this person. Oh, I'm looking through Christmas decorations. That's the book. It's
Yeah.
so mundane and so uneventful. There's actually only one chapter that's dedicated to the war. Only one. And it's not even written by Mrs. Miniver herself. I think it's written by one of the other characters about the war effort. Like, oh, times are tough now. The war is happening. Because I think what happened was when this book came out, the war effort was drumming up, but it wasn't really home yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
The book was probably written in what, 38, 39 or something?
I could double,
39 is the start of the war, but
I could check, just so we can be accurate here. 39, yeah.
okay, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, so the war was just like not there yet. So the book is written as such. It's just a mundane day of the life kind of a thing. So when it came to the film, I was like, okay, it's starting off like that. Oh, it's a rose competition in the beginning. Oh, this is some guy from Oxford comes in. Oh, they're talking about stuff during tea and they're dancing, and I'm like, okay, this film sucks. Why did this win Best Picture? Then you get to the war effort, and then the second half of the film, all the way to the very end, is nothing but about the war. So if anything, the movie is a huge deviation from the book. Like they just took the book, the namesake, because it was a popular book, and they're like,
Yeah.
huh, we need to make some wartime propaganda. Let's just change half of this thing to reflect on that. And they did. So, yeah, and that's exactly what happened. And I think that was a good call because the second half of the movie is way more interesting than the first half. It's definitely more interesting than the book.
Definitely.
And honestly, it was a huge success as a result. It took about $1 million to make this film, and it earned like $8 million in the box office.
Yeah.
So we're
Might have been the most successful film.
yeah, it was a resounding success. You know, if
Yep.
anything, it was just like, and it was very effective propaganda too, because it was shown in
Yep.
that light where it was shown in a sympathetic light for the civilians in England, like, oh, look what the Germans are
Yeah.
doing and stuff, and and it's just like,
I think it was, yeah. Yeah, that hadn't been done before, and I don't think there'd really been, you know, I think it was the first, World War II film, and yeah, and like you said, going into not just the war, but the
the repercussions.
civilian life and yeah, all those things at home. And like you said, I mean, if the novel was written in 39, then I think the Blitz bombing in the UK was only in 40 and 41, I'm pretty sure. So
Yes.
that's probably why this is early on, so you don't see the full, the rationing and everything. There's
So
it's
on
not
that,
the full.
yeah, so on that standpoint, I think it was interesting. It's interesting to see like the book was written in one moment in time, and then the movie was made in a different moment in time, effectively making
Yeah,
it a completely different kind of work.
yeah.
Which begs the question: why even bother adapting the source material? You could have just made a brand new film, you know, original work.
Probably would have been a better idea. Yeah,
I guess they were capitalizing on the name because again, the book was popular, so maybe that had something to do with it. And they were like, "Well, there was one chapter that
it's
mentions
true.
the film. There was one chapter that mentioned the war, so let's just go ahead and make it all about that towards the end."
And I
So,
think every single one of these movies has, started out with the book, right? Every single one, adapted screenplay from a novel, or
almost all of them,
yeah,
yeah. So I mean, like,
they're probably just sticking to that.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to adapt something when it's already there. Because when you have a book, for one, the source material is already there. All the characters and the dialogue and all that stuff, it's already written. But if it's a
Right.
success, you have a fan base built in. And that's still true even
Correct.
to today. Because if you adapt something that's based on a popular book, all the people that like the book are going to go watch the film, right?
Exactly.
And then a lot of people are like, hey, this is based on a book that's popular. There might be something to this. And then you get those people going in the movie. And then, you have a hit success. That's the formula. That's the assumption anyway. Doesn't always work out, but
Yeah.
that's usually how it works out.
Correct.
So this is not too different. If anything, though, all that stuff aside, the film itself, when you really watch it, it's just like, eh. I mean, again, the most interesting things about the film is the stuff you were describing earlier. It's the fact that, they mention that there's like a basement. They're doing air raid warnings pretty early on in the film. Then when the Germans come in and they're bombing the fuck out of everyone, they're in the basements and they're like, oh, there's this one scene where they're like in there and you can hear like the planes going overhead and then the bombing is like far away. Then it's getting
Yeah.
closer, and then it's over them and everything's shaking. There's a cat on the bed. The cat's like unbothered until everything's shaking. And the cat jumps off them and the kids are like, who are sleeping. All of a sudden they're like, ah! And it was just like, this is pretty scary, honestly. This is pretty terrifying to live through something like this. So that at least was
Absolutely, yeah.
very effective, I feel.
They should have had more war scenes, I think. It didn't, I mean, it doesn't have to be like a 10-minute montage or something like that. And, but more to get you.
Mrs.
Get you
Miniver just
feel-
running through the streets and bombs are coming in. No!
Oh, no. But, more to get, to get a feel of what's going on, not just the sounds of the planes and bombs, which they included, like you said, quite a bit actually throughout the film. And of course, at the end, you get, more the planes crashing, burning, all that. But, then the movie kind of wraps up at that point and it's done. And I think there was a missed opportunity to get the audience more into it, more engaged, if they added a little bit more in that front. But, oh well.
Yeah, I feel I can't really comment too much because I don't know exactly what happened during that time. All I know is that those things did happen in the film. There was probably maybe more stuff that happened, but because there's even a sequence where there was a German pilot that, he was just laying in the bushes. Mrs. Miniver finds him. Then he holds her hostage and he's like, I want some milk. I want a sandwich. All right, I'm going to get out. Then he just passes out. And then she's like, oh,
I want a sandwich.
Then she goes to the telephone. She's like, oh, there's a German pilot here. I think he needs help. Then she gets the gun. She's like, you're going to stay here until help arrives. And then the German's like, all right, let me just sit on the table and stuff. And she's like fixing him up or something. And then he's just like, oh yeah, we've been bombing the out of like, what was he called it Copenhagen and stuff like that or whatever. And he's like, we're going to bomb you now. Yeah. And then we're going to bomb
Eastern Front. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then then the guys come in, they arrest him, whatever. I thought that was kind of interesting.
It's a very notable scene, the German in the house. I mean, it's definitely one of the most notable scenes in the entire film. I mean, this dude just shows up in there and he's eating up all her bread and the milk and then the meat. And he's like, what, no cheese to go with the bread and meat? No, he doesn't say that, but yeah. Then
he didn't say that.
He starts talking.
There's no meat for the cheese. Where are they?
Exactly. And he talks all this mad mess and then she slaps the sauerkraut right out of him, and that was awesome. I mean, she should have kicked him in the nuts first, quite frankly, and then slapped him.
I think that would have been realistic, yeah.
And so yeah, that's a very notable scene. And,
another one that's interesting too is the one of the other characters. She's in the very beginning of the film. She marries the character Vin, I think.
Yeah, Carolyn Vin.
Yeah, so there's like a little bit of a love interest there with those two characters. And then after that, they drop him off. They drive him to the air base so he could get dropped off and he can go back to the war.
He joined the RAF, Royal Air Force, and
yeah, there you go. And then after that, they're driving back home, and then they have to drive really slowly because the planes at this point have already bombed the hell out of their town. And then they hear it again, and they're just like they stop, and then all of a sudden the planes fly overhead, and there's bombing and stuff. And then Mrs. Miniver is like, oh my God, look at that. The town's burning. Is that? Oh no. And then it turns out her passenger, that woman, for the life of me, I can't remember her name. But the young lady there, she's just like, Um, she's just slumped over. She's like, I think I'm hurt. And then they look on top of the
Carol,
car.
that's yeah, Vin's wife.
Yeah, that I just forgot her name, but yeah, Carol. So then the Mrs. Miniver looks up on the car tarp thing, and there are all these bullet holes, and you're like, oh, that sucks. So then she dies.
Was that it? I actually,
Yeah.
when I watched it, I wasn't really sure where she was injured.
No, it was
Mrs. Miniver kind of looks at her, and I didn't really
no. There is a
notice
very
anything.
that's weird because like no,
Why
there's
wasn't Mrs. Miniver wounded? I mean, I didn't quite.
there was a quick scene. Maybe they shot it after the fact where there were bullet holes, and the bullet holes went right through Carol's side.
I didn't notice that at all.
No, it's there in the film. No, I swear to God, it's there. It's a very quick scene.
I believe you. Yeah.
If you're, I guess if you're not paying attention or something, then maybe you're gonna miss it. It's what
Yeah.
because I was watching it with my girl and she was just like, "Why is she dead?" And I was just like, "No, because the bullet holes. What bullet holes? It's there. That scene. It's there. I'm not
I guess
going
I was
crazy."
just looking at them too. I was looking at Carol and Mrs. Miniver so much I didn't really because it's kind of zoomed in so you can see inside the car,
No,
and
there's
so you
like
don't see the out.
there's
So
an
maybe
actual
it's
scene dedicated to the bullet holes.
bullet holes. Okay, I
Yeah,
must have not really noticed
yeah.
that then.
I mean, it does go by really quickly. I mean, but like,
Right.
but yeah, it just really, I don't know. It is there, and that's how she dies. So
Okay.
I'm not crazy. I swear, it's in there.
Yeah.
I'm not delusional. But yeah, as far as notable scenes, I mean, those are pretty much the only ones I can think of personally. And
I
it's
think
really
yeah,
all the war
yeah,
stuff, really.
yeah. I mean, like you said with the Vin and Carol, and I mean, I think that a lot of that stuff worked. I think the some of the family and town drama in it does work. The romance works. I think you could say it's pretty effective, even though the movie has its issues, and I didn't really enjoy it. Neither of us did, but
Nah.
and then so they throw in a lot of that. They throw in Carol's grandma in it, and her attitude, and more family drama, and then there's a little bit of character development there with the flower competition. That's
Yeah, that's in the very beginning, and then
something in there.
they bring
Yeah.
it back towards the end, and what's his face? The old guy wins, Mr. Ballard. Like he makes a
Yeah.
rose in the very beginning, be like, "I'm gonna call this one Mrs. Miniver," and whatever. And then there's this. I think Carol's the one that comes in to their house in the beginning. She's like, "Oh yeah, that rose that's supposed to be in competition that's named after you, Mrs. Miniver. I want you to get that rose out because this old lady wants to win. She's been winning this competition
That's
for
her
like."
grandma.
Yeah, that's her grandma. Okay, so it's like Grammy's been winning these things, and we want Grammy to win. So withdraw your rose or whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess they don't because towards the end they unveil the rose and it won like first prize silver cup or whatever. And the old codger just like took the card, and she ripped it up. She's like, yeah, Mr. Baby. Yeah, the winner
I
is
don't. I see. I didn't. I didn't see
Ballard."
it that way.
That's when
That's
it
not
came
the way
out.
I saw it.
That's the way I saw it.
Yeah, the way I saw it was actually there was character development and an arc for Mrs. I think her name's Belden, Carol's grandma,
Yeah,
and she's kind of a difficult person,
she literally ripped off
and
the
in that
card.
competition, actually, what I gathered from watching it, she actually won the competition once again, but she actually changed it, saying that he won because it's kind of what one he wanted it so bad, the town maybe needed it, and for morale and whatnot. But that's actually the way I saw the film.
Oh, maybe
But
I
and
misinterpreted.
she actually
Then.
took second place, even though she didn't need to do that. And it was like one nice thing she'd done in the whole movie, I think.
Okay, well,
Um,
if that's the interpretation, then
yeah.
that's a better interpretation than what I saw. I just saw it literally like, oh, he won or whatever. But
Yeah,
if that was
I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I think.
okay, maybe it wasn't clear to me or I wasn't paying attention
Yeah.
too well. But yeah, but that scene happens, and then shortly afterwards, he dies anyway.
Yeah,
He dies in
true,
the bombing, I think, because he's also the bell tower. He's the bell tower ringer guy or whatever.
True. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Some of those things like that character development with that competition. I mean, I don't know if that had to be in the movie, but at least it did bring some development and you see a different side of that character, Mrs. Belden,
yeah,
and you
well,
see how she kind of changes a bit once their families are combined because Vin and Carol marry, and she's still kind of difficult, but then slowly kind of warms up, and so I thought it was that was done fairly well. I thought.
okay. Well, Mr. Ballard, the whole reason for that rose competition was because Mr. Ballard was going to die, and that closes with the film where the church is all messed up. There's like a big ass hole in the
Yeah.
roof, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
the pastor's just like he makes this big speech, which apparently FDR,
Herman.
the speech was used by FDR in essence as a morale builder.
Hmm.
So he appropriated the speech for it, and he also ordered the film to be rushed to theaters for propaganda purposes. So primarily because of that end speech. So, and the end speech is like so a bit like, like FDR said, a big morale booster, like, oh, the choir boy died. Oh, the Rose guy died. Oh, the Carol died. But you know what? We have to stand together and we will prevail. And then when you go to the hole in the roof, then you see the planes fly over and stuff like that. It's supposed to inspire patriotism. Like, rally behind your country and buy war bonds and go to the efforts for the war and all this other stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this is pretty much the beginning of this feeling of nationalism, this feeling of like I need to do my duty for my country, kind of a thing, which lasted a
Right.
very long time in this country, the USA, until I
Sure.
think recently. But this was a pretty big effort towards that. I feel where it's just like people
Yeah.
were just like, well, I have to do something important for my country, and all the films and cartoons and stuff that came during this time were just like helping bolster that.
That being said, the film is very, very dated, and I wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah, honestly, without the war stuff, I would give this for sure a much lower rating. But the war stuff is pretty cool. And the three scenes that I outlined, the three main scenes, maybe the last scene, that stuff stays with me in a
Yeah.
very interesting kind of way. And it does make me wish that I wish only 5 to maybe 10 minutes dedicated to the day in the life crap. I only wish it was that little. Then the rest of the time, bombing. Oh, Mrs. Miniver's running in the planes, like gunning at her, and she's like, or whatever. Maybe not. I mean, I say that in jest. I don't need it to be sounding like an action film, but I'm just like, I want to see more devastation, more rallying behind. Like, you see the town and everyone's affluent and everyone's like, has a rich little picket fence and house, but they lose it all and they're all scrounging food together. And everyone's like on the same level now. If you're upper, middle, lower class, you're all on the same playing field because you're all getting messed up by the war efforts. And then
You're
everyone
in it together.
you're in it together. And I feel like that was really missing at the end of the day. That emphasis of
Agreed,
like, we are all in this together. We all have to help each other. We're all dying together. So it's up to us to come together and fight back. I feel like if the film had that core message from very beginning to the very end, I would give this film actually a much higher rating.
Agreed, yeah. And we know that they did that, obviously, here, there, everybody coming together, the production together, sacrifices together. We know that, but should have been shown more on the screen in this film. So
Yeah,
it definitely would have made a big difference.
absolutely. I mean, because there is character development, but to me, it's kind of nah. I just like, oh, we're gonna have dinner, we're gonna have tea, we're gonna talk about things and stuff and whatever. And I want to see struggle. I want to see people doing what they can. I want to see selfishness. I want to see heroism. I want to see courage. I want to see all that stuff. And you get very little of that in this
two
film.
separate things, Yeah, and that's the thing. It's almost like there's the different stories going on, and it just didn't have that focus that I think they should have had with the war effort and with what was going on. And I mean, there was definitely some missed opportunities, like I said earlier. And
Oh yeah, massive. Especially like with a film like this, it's on the civilian's point of view. That is so important. Like,
yeah,
because
absolutely.
previous films that were centered around World War One, that's in the soldier's point of view, and that's interesting and that's important too. But when you get to the civilians, that's something that we relate to. That's just something that most people that are not in the army can relate to. They had an opportunity to really hit home with this, and they didn't at the end of the day. So, but they did a decent effort here and there. So if we're gonna go right into ratings, I'd probably give this one. Oh God, I'd probably give this a 5. I'm tempted to give it a 6, but I'm gonna give it a 5 because of what all the stuff that I just said.
Yeah, that's fair. Actually, I'm going to give it a 6. Definitely some things about it that were pretty good. The production's good. The acting was actually good. We didn't touch on that, but Greer Garson did a pretty good job on acting for the most part in the film. Was pretty good. Walter Pidgeon, he was all right in it. He's actually Canadian.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he's from New Brunswick, I think. Yeah, I mean, overall, I think a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, I would get more into the acting and stuff, but it just, for the most part, me unremarkable. You know, for me,
Sure,
I judge this film on the totality of it, and the totality of it is just
sure,
like most of it is just like meh, forgettable. But the bits of it
true.
that
Yeah,
were
yeah,
good are very good. You know, and they really hit home, and they had very little dialogue. You know,
yeah,
so I feel like it's the classic show, but don't tell, and that's
yeah,
where the film really shines, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah. I thought overall it was all right. So 6 out of 10. Some things I didn't like about it. Some things that they really should have added, and I'm sure I don't know. I don't think a movie like this would be made now. So, so
Well, if it
no,
would
not like this, not in this,
not like
way.
this, no, I
They
would.
would definitely make it, what it should have been. But and they have. There's plenty of movies I can think of in the last 20 years.
Yeah, of course.
But including war movies from the civilian perspective. So, but yeah, overall not bad. 6 out of 10, reasonable.
All right, guys. So thanks for tuning in. The next film we're going to be reviewing is considered one of the best films of all time. It
Mhm.
is with Humphrey Bogart. It's with Ingrid Bergman. It's got a couple of classic lines, a classic ending. There's classic. It's written all over it.
That's right. I actually mentioned it earlier in this episode.
Yeah, you certainly did. So, with that
Yep.
said, guys, we'll be seeing you for the next one.
Take care. Have a good one.